Hi guys, sorry about the angle, it'll get better in a minute. I'm going to go to my dining room to use the VTBYE knitting machine. I have a whole intro. I just want to let you know it didn't quite turn out what I was trying to do today. I was going to do a scarf. I want to do like a long scarf, but the pink yarn I had was just not cooperating. So in the next few 20-30 minutes you're gonna think I'm still working towards a scarf, but it worked out as far as making a tube, and then I showed you guys how to make this kind of head wrap instead of a scarf. So I just don't want you to get confused that I keep talking about scarves. We did a little applique, I guess, of sorts here, so you learn that, the Russian join, or like the magic join of yarn, and then also how to go ahead and sew this guy up and how to crochet off your waste yarn, like beginning and ending. It's not really crochet, you're just catching the loops. It's really easy, but that's what you'll learn in this video. So again, I apologize when you go to this talking about a scarf but that'll be for next time. Okay guys, so today we're going to make this scarf that you saw in the thumbnail. At this point I don't really know if I'm going to do a heart design, just crocheting one like an applique and then adding it to the scarf, or doing a repeat stitch, or like what's it called? Not called repeat. Anyway, we'll get to it when we get to it, but where you just kind of go over the same stitch again, so you're just maybe it's called repeat, I don't know. It's a different technique, so we'll see. But for right now, I'm going to use this machine that I just recently reviewed. It's from Amazon. I'll link it in the description box. That would be an affiliate link, which means I'll make a small commission if you purchase items to those links. This is a 48 needle or 48 pin machine. I was going to use my smaller Centro, the 40 pin, and because I was like, well, it's 8 less as you go around, it's going to get done faster, right? Because we're going to crank a lot of rows for this one, or at least I am, a lot of rounds. But it's what it is. So we are also going to begin and end with waste yarn so that we can finish off the tube in a nice way. You can finish off tons of different ways, but in every video what I'm trying to do is show you something different if you haven't seen it yet. But there's ton of videos out there that you can learn from, and people do amazing stuff. And this one we're just gonna have color changes, and again, they cast on and cast off using waste yarn, and then sewing it up. And it's not really sewing, you're gonna use a crochet hook that comes with your machine, or a crochet hook that you have, and just kind of go up and down across the ends, and I'll keep it closed. And yeah, so in my mind, I want it to be really candy, like pink and red and white, like very Valentine's-y. I happened to go by Walmart because I realized I don't really have a pink, and I must have pink, but I can't find it right now. I looked through all these different yarn tubs, and I'm like, but I hardly ever pick up something so sweet like pink like this, so maybe I just didn't have it. This is Petal Pink from Red Heart, okay? I try to stick with the same brands, but the white part, I didn't really want to go with Stark White, but then Stark White might look nicer. I just went with an off-white that is a Pound of Love from Lion Brand. Or is it called Pound of Love? Yes. So I'm using this pink. And when I went to Walmart, they had this really pretty one, and I was like, oh, that's not the pink I'm looking for. But look how pretty this is. Persimmon, I think. Yeah, love it, but I'm not using that today. I'll use this pink. I'm going to use this red, which I've used before in the machine, and it was great. This is Cherry Red. And again, just Pound of Love in Antique White. So it's just a little bit off white. It looks really yellow though, so maybe I could have gone with something else that's a little brighter, but that's just what I chose. I'm going to do 35 rounds of each color. I was going to do 40, but then I was like, 40 times 7, because it's basically going to have 7 color changes. It just seemed like a lot. So I think we're for I didn't do the math, but 235, 240 rounds, when if you did 40 for each color block times 7, it would be 7 times 4, what is that, 280 rounds. And I'm like, nah, that's okay. So I'm gonna do 35. I think that's plenty. If you want to do 40, if you want to just be real loose with it, with my 40 pin Centro, I did order a stitch marker, or stitch counter, or whatever, not stitch but round counter. It's just not here yet, but you can be very playful with this. It doesn't have to be specific sizes on each round, but that's what I wanted. Now I grabbed the white because I'm going to start with white. I really want the ends of my scarf to start with red and end with red, and then I want the pink and the white to alternate in between the two reds. I'm only going to do red at the beginning, red at the end. I don't know, I just thought it'd be cute, just a style choice. I don't really like pink and red together. Like, I would never wear pink and red. I remember when I was little, I used to always like, ew, I don't like that combo. But if you want some pink and red next to each other, go for it. I'm going to go red, white, pink, white, pink, white, and then another red. And that's why there's 7 chunks. But that's what I'm doing. But we're going to cast on what's essentially going to be waste yarn, which is just a color that's really opposite or very different from the first color that you want to start with, because you want to be able to pick out your loops very easily. So that's the whole point of this stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to drop some in here. We're going to tear that out anyway. We don't really, just leave yourself like maybe a foot or something. Actually, let me get to the, sorry, yeah, I'm just trying to get to this guy. And again, with this machine, this is actually pin 48, and the first purple one after the white one is number 1. But I always use that one as the one to catch. So I'm just going to do that. We're going to put this in here and get that cut in there, right? I can get a little bit closer. Oop, that was really fast. Sorry. There we go. Maybe I can turn this a little more this way. And I'm going to get on the other side so I can do this. So as I'm holding it here, I want to get my arm out of the way. I don't want it in the way of your video. There you go. We're going, making sure that catches. You're going to go in front of the first peg, behind the next one, in front of the next one, and keep going. I'm sorry if my arm is in the way. There we go. Behind the next one, in front of this one. And then just keep your tension so that you're not... as I come around here, I don't know if you can see this yarn's right here. When I go maybe 2 or 3 needles past, it should click down. And that's pretty much the tension that you want. Even when you're casting on, you don't want it to be too loose or too tight, but too loose, you'll probably start dropping stitches at some point. So just behind and in front, behind and in front, and keeping a pretty good little tension. And I need to pay attention because sometimes I start talking and I forget that I was already behind or I went in front when not supposed to. If you get to the end and you're behind, and you're in the back of your needle, then you're probably in the right spot. I mean, it could be that you skipped 2 areas, but if you're in front of the needle, then something's wrong, okay? So in front, behind, in front, and behind, and that is the last one before the next one pops up. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and place my yarn into this gap all the way through. There's like a little tunnel. You might want to make sure it's in. And I'm going to use the second spot for the tension. That seemed to work last time, so I'll do that. Again, this yarn essentially is just dropped here, but it was caught the first time. So as I go around, I'm just making sure everything's catching. Maybe I'll give this one a little, make sure it's down there. And again, this is just to get some waste yarn on. So I'm going to watch and just make sure everything's good. The first turn, you're going to have stitches every other one, but then after that, there should be stitches everywhere. Look at that. There's already a tie from the factory right here. Oh, so let me take that out because it'll probably get stuck. I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to let it pass through my fingers, holding a tension that's kind of okay. And now I'm going to put it back in the tension gauge. And again, I'm going pretty slowly here. That's already, what, 2 rounds? Just give yourself a good amount. I feel like this one's really kind of a little bit loose. So I'm going to use my hand here to keep this. And what I mean by the gauge, like tension, as I'm going, I can see this drops off pretty quickly. Once it gets past like the second or third needle, it's dropping. There'll be times where it stays up, it stays up, it stays up on this like top portion, and that is not good. That means it's way too loose. So, I'm just giving myself a few. Now I'm going to go a little faster because why not? Okay. What's nice about this one is that when we did the cast on, it's actually cast it on because we did the front, back. You only need like 5 rounds. At the end, you're going to want to give yourself plenty because if you're just going to knock it off and not use your yarn, to catch the loops, then you might lose some, right? So you really want to be careful then, give yourself a good amount or cast off the right way, but you're still gonna have to like take it apart. So whatever feels safest for you. So at this point, I'm gonna cut this off and I'm gonna start my red because that's really where I wanna start. So I'm just going to, silly girl. Oopsie, sorry, you know what? It's always something. I'm gonna go ahead and tie these back together because I should start at the end or at the beginning of a round. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just like, this is good. I mean, it doesn't have to be that technical, guys. So I'm just adding this just to tie because we're gonna take this off anyway. It's not really part of our project. I just need to get back to that first pin, which was coming around the corner here. See how it'll just take that knot in and it's fine. No big deal. I'm gonna get the extra pieces out because I don't want them causing problems later. So now it fell in there and we're good. And what number are we at? Oh yeah, that's right. This thing is 48. I'm like, I'm coming around. Okay, this is, I guess, what we consider number 1, even though it's actually number 48. So we're gonna cut that off. I'm gonna let that continue with this guy. Okay, we don't want it to fall out, so just leave him there. We're gonna catch him in just a minute. I'm gonna reset my counter. I'm gonna grab my red yarn from the center pull, which is what I prefer. And I'm gonna go ahead and pop that guy through here, through the little channel, and then go ahead and put it in your tensioner. Why not? As I'm cranking, I'm gonna make sure that the white one is still being, my white yarn is still gonna be held by this guy. And as I'm turning, the new red one needs to be caught here, right? So there it goes. And I'll give it a little bit of spin. And now that I'm over here, I'm just going to tie these guys together. Now you can do a knot right now, but well, let's go ahead and do it just because. So just a tie and a, little knot. If you do this when you're changing your colors, then you don't have to knot them later. So it's kind of nice. But sometimes you want readjustment, right? Maybe you want to tighten it up a little bit. You can make that judgment then. Okay, this is kind of what I was talking about. As you're watching your tension, see how this yarn is coming. This one is up here because it needs to fall into this place. So if you're cranking and a lot of these, it's still here, it's still here, it's still here, that's not good because what happens is the next one's gonna go here, the next one's gonna go here, and they're not falling down where they need to. So I'm gonna try to crank with one hand, but you see how that one just fell? The next one came up, that one's there, it's gonna fall. That is good tension. If it snaps into place, it's probably too tight, but if it just stays up here, and the next one stays up here, and the next one stays up here on this little guide or guard, that's not great. You need to tighten up your tension, okay? So again, in this first round, I'll do it carefully because we just did a color change. I reset my counter, so that's all good. I'm just making sure everything, there's that one strand. I should probably get everything out of there just to not bother, but that's okay. I think it's gonna be okay for now. Okay, you hear that? That's because my yarn is kind of getting a little tight. Here we go. Up over the color change. Now our loops should all be red. And I'm just gonna crank until I get to 35, right? If you want 40, 40, 60, whatever number you like for your pieces. I'm gonna make sure that this little yarn right here isn't bothering anybody. I'm gonna do that with my daughter. She works with perler beads. Like I told you, she has a little antique desk behind me here. I'm gonna pull this guy out of the way because I don't want it bothering or making a problem for me later. So I'm just pulling that little bit down here, okay? Oh, there's a human hair in there. Probably gonna give me a problem later too. Okay. All right, let's just keep going. I'm gonna catch a little more slack. And everything's looking really nice. Yeah, this guy has this little knot. Again, I just want to make sure we're good. Okay, that's 3 rounds. So now, once I go, 2, 3, 4 rounds, I'll just start cranking. So I'm gonna go to 35, and I'll be back when I get to the 35th round. Cute. Okay, guys. So I'm at 34 rounds, going into 35. So I'm gonna be kind of careful as I come around. It does have numbers here, so you can see I'm at 30, 31. Like I can see that they're very faint, but at least it gives you an idea if you slow down and look at what you're doing. 35, supposedly. It just clicked over, okay? So I'm going to cut this, leaving myself just a little bit, I'll show you, probably 6 or 7 inches. I don't want it caught in the white needle. I want it to stay caught in this one that just came down. And you can even pop it down if you want, but I'm gonna leave it where it is right now. What I'm saying is push this one off. Remember how I told you that it'll stay up on this guard? I'm gonna leave it there. We're gonna go back to white. So that's my first color change. And then the next one from white will be pink. But for now, we will drop that yarn in. It doesn't have to be a lot because you're just gonna tie it off anyway. Get it in that channel. Make sure it's in there. Go ahead and put in your tensioner. Start cranking. I'm holding the right and the, oops, sorry. Get it under so that it catches on this white one. Since we stopped where we were, we want to make sure it's getting in that little head there. And the other one's getting pulled in. And see, it stayed there. And usually by now it drops because I lost my tension, right? When I cut it off and just threw it in there. So you want to give yourself, see if I pull it, it popped down. So just keep an eye out for that one and start cranking, and I'll give it a couple. I should have reset my counter, but whenever I come back at 34, I'll know to keep an eye out for my white one. So reset your counter, or don't reset the counter and go to 70, right, if you forget. So I'm just doing an overhand tie, and this time I will kind of do it snug, and I am going to put a knot because that way I'm just done with that one. Whenever we go to make our scarf, I'm just going to trim these down, and that's it. They're already tied because we are going to keep that tie. Okay, so reset the counter, and again, we just made a color change, so I'm going to be careful as I go. The first round is still going to have a red loop in here, and it's still going to have little red loops in here. The white one's getting pulled in, but the next round, when it comes around, should switch out to all white. So when you drop a stitch, this machine is funky because it's not the one you just did. It's like 2 or 3 lower that you need to bring up and get in place for it to be correct. So weird. Like, you have to really look at the anatomy of these stitches to figure it out and for it to make sense. But it's not something I spend too much time thinking about. But you see how this pops right down? That it goes on the band, it pops down. It goes here, it pops down, it goes there. Tension's still good. And I'm going to crank out another 35. But again, I'll go a little bit slowly. Maybe at this point you want to give your work a little pull. That'll also help keep things nice and from being popped out. Dropping stitches, tucking stitches, that kind of thing. I don't do it very often, but it's worth doing. So I'm already in round 4, and I will keep going till I approach round 35 again, which is essentially round 70 if you're just going to keep cranking, right? You probably don't want to do the math every time though, because the next one will be 105, then 140, and then 175, you know. I would just reset it every time if you remember. I will say the red one was kind of hard to crank. This, I wanted to keep it the same brand yarns because I wanted it to not have a kink. Like, it might kind of go in when it goes to this white. It might kind of go back to a little bit with the pink. You know what I'm saying? It might have like a little funniness there because I feel like this yarn, in my opinion, feels thinner than that yarn, but it's what it is. So I'm going to keep going. This is a lot easier to crank. Like, I can do this all day. The red was just a little tough guy. Anyway, all right, I'll be back. It's starting to touch my table down in here, so I'm just going to pick this up. And one other thing is, like I said, the counter was acting kind of funny whenever I first got this. The first section does look to me like it's 35, but this section is telling me I'm on 19, and I can see that there's way more rows here than 19. I mean, you can even count them. Like this right here, 1, 2, okay, that's fine. So let's just say, I'm not even going to count those. Let's say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. I feel like it's off a little bit, which is kind of a bummer. Not that, you know, it has to be wasted, it's fine. That just kind of bothers me because then we're not going to have the equal thing. So now I'm thinking, okay, let's just do our best since I wasn't keeping count. You know, me looking at it, that's how I would count them. Maybe I'm counting it wrong, but generally with knit, you know, even if I turn it inside out, I can see that I already have, you know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. So I have a feeling this one is correct, that the 35. This one looks really long for it to be 19. Like if I crank out another 16, that just seems crazy. So I am going to stop here. Now again, that's because the machine counter, I think it's wrong. So let's just get to the next little white pin. Funny enough, like I said, I had ordered a Centro accessories kit and it came with a new counter and I was like, oh, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted a different kind of counter. Like I thought it was going to be the kind you just add on, but it was basically a replacement for what's already in your machine. And I think I can probably use that now. Let's see, where are we at? 36. Yeah, so I can see this thing didn't even change from 19. I just made pretty much a whole round and didn't do anything different. So, all right, I'm just gonna eyeball from this and then I'll do 35 at the end just so that the red sections are the same. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that. Again, we're gonna do a color change this time to the pink. What a weird situation. So let me pull this out. Again, it can be more free-flowing. It's your scarf. It's whatever you want. I'm going to make a change. I don't really care. It's not that big a deal. But my intention was I still want like 240 rounds. I want a nice long scarf. But anyway, all right. I found the middle pretty easily of this guy. Let it drop down. Put that back in the tensioner. Remember through the little whole thing here. Holding this guy. Holding this guy. Let's go ahead and reset the counter and see if it... Right now I reset and it says 600. 00, but the 6. I don't know. I'm holding the one that just came off. I'm holding the new yarn. Give it a couple of turns. And over here I'm going to tie these guys together again. A tie and a knot. So that way it's already knotted. And I'm not worrying about it for later. So there's a tie. And just a knot. If you want to do like a surgeon's knot at that point too, or whatever that you like to do, go for it. So we reset it. Now it says 1 for some reason. I barely even started, but that's okay. And maybe I'll try to keep an eye. The thing is, if you're going and you're going really fast, it's very hard to notice the white pin coming up. So let me show you something I'm going to do. Let me go grab a marker. So I just got to that 1. It just clicked over to 2, and that is 1 full round, but it should be number 1. Let me grab a marker. I'll be right back. So I did this with my other machine. Now, this is the white one. That's the last pin. This one's the first one. Do you want to know when it's coming up or do you want to know when the next round is starting? So I think for this one, I'm just going to take a Sharpie and I'm just going to color both parts. So that's when it's coming and then that's just when the white one's coming. Or you can color both. Let's move it a little bit more. And meaning the white pin is in between these two spots. And that's it. Now, of course, I want to let that dry. It's a alcoholic marker, it shouldn't take too long. But okay, I'm just gonna go for it. It's getting caught with my white yarn. Let's get that out of here. All right. I like to hold it like this. I don't know. What do you guys do? Or sometimes I'll hold it this way. I'll show you real quick if I can back up. No, the other direction. I'll hold it like this. Keep my thumb out of the way. And just keep going. You know? It just depends. I tried sitting down, and I don't know. I just like to work with this standing up. What do you guys do? Here comes that black, and hopefully it's dry. Yep, we're good to go. And so now, you know, it's very easy for me to find that. When you're cranking it, I do not remember where that one's coming through. Right now, so far, I think that is round 3. It says round 3. So I'm just going to keep an eye on if I think this thing is counting correctly again or not. Let's see. 3. You should click over to 4, like right now. Yep, it did. Okay, that's fine. So, okay, I'm going to keep cranking out till 35 if this thing stays on track. I'll be back. Okay, guys, don't be shocked. I'm just going to start over. I started tucking some stitches, and I can see that. And the fact that that last round wasn't really counting right, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start over. So I just cranked it out without any yarn to can come off. But that happens sometimes. But let's see what we had here, you know? I mean, if you really pull, it's very cute. But again, like I said, I think this one's thinner than this one. Like you can tell it gets just thicker. But there's not really a huge bump here, so that's okay. Like in between the two, you know what I'm saying, where the one goes with the other one. So I'm good with that. This one just looked lacier. And then for whatever reason, there's like a ridge right here. I don't know what that's about. Odd. But this looks really nice. So I'm just going to start over and just keep doing my color changes like I showed you, tie them off until I get back to the next red. And I guess I'll come back then because, to be honest, I got to go pick up my kids. I probably shouldn't have started this video knowing I had to leave in like 30 minutes. So same thing you just saw me do. I'm just going to start it over and yeah, I'll be back. This pink one, again, is a little rougher, kind of like that red one. I feel like that's the yarn that's giving me a problem, but we will see. I have heard from other people that you can put like a little ear plug in here, these silicone ear plugs, and I do have them, and you just place it here so the yarn is running through that and it's making it more slick and it'll just kind of go. I don't know. We'll see. I'll be back. Oh, you know, everything's a learning moment. When you want to pull this out, just pull it. It'll just come apart. That's the whole thing with drop stitches or tuck stitches. All this stuff will just come apart if something just happens. But basically, these are your live guys. So if you wanted to, I mean, you could come in here and pick them up probably pretty easily, but you have to be careful. There's nothing else this could have done for me. Maybe make a cowl, I guess. Yeah, but I'd rather just take it apart and start over and do something else with it. You could treat this like, what's that word? Like waste yarn, right? So you can also come in here and pick up these white stitches and sew them off and make a headband if you wanted, you know what I'm saying? If you don't want to just start over, I'm just going to start over. Now, some people are really good. You can go from here and get these back on your hooks, right? These loops. I have no idea, and I'm not even going to try, so I'm good. I'll just pull this out. It didn't take very long to get here, so. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, you know I can't just do something and not cue you in here. So all I did was unravel it, but I left even the ties together. So as it comes to that point, I just kind of let it pass through. And it is at 35. I'm coming up on 35, and I do see, if I keep going, my red is turning into the white yarn. And it's coming up here, so let's see if we're close or if we're off. If we're off, I'll just redo it. Black is over here, or the black markings. So if I keep going, I don't have enough of this red to be exactly the same as last time, but you know, if you don't really care that much, then you know, do the color change. I could remember that, oh, I did it at 30 or whatever. But I'm gonna have to because I don't have any more red. Or I can bring in red just to finish that off. I'm not gonna. I just kept using the same yarn, so obviously it's stitched up differently this time than it did the time before. But I'm just going to keep going, and since I'm coming up on a knot, like where I tied it, I'm just going to go like that, and I'm going to allow that to fall in, remember? So let's tighten it up a little bit, because you don't want it to get too crazy as it goes in here, and I'm also going to trim it down a little bit. And that's because I just didn't want to restart. So here we go. It's going through that channel because it can do that, and then it's going to pull in. And I'm going to get rid of these two guys, like if it was just in between. See, now it's right in between, just like before. We don't want it messing anything up. And I'm going to reset my counter, and I've been keeping an eye on the counter, and it was doing fine. So I don't know what it was doing last time, but we are at 35, and that was legit 35. I was counting it. So as I come up to this bump again, I'm going to, and I'm talking about my little knot here that I had made. Just going to keep that down, make sure it's not bothering anything, make sure that goes down, that pulls down, this one pulls down, keep this out, okay. And that already went over to 1 and perfect, so I'm going to keep going. 35, I'll be counting. Bye. You guys, this is so funny. Like I said, I didn't cut it off, so the pink is starting, and I counted, and it was 31 rows plus a little extra here, so that's what it gave me, 31, and, you know. Do I want to start and stop where I start and stop these other ones? Because remember, it wasn't quite at 1. You know, I could have thought about it and I would have stopped it back here and then switched out. I think I'm going to do one more, just let it go. I mean, you have to really look at it really closely to see where the step up is. So I'm just going to continue going and then reset my counter and do, like I said, it was basically 31. I mean, you know, it's this much difference if I had 4 more rounds. So, whatever. And this is pure laziness because I could just cut it off and put on another white one and finish up 35 rounds. So maybe I do 31 rounds and then end with 35 red again, right? So 35, everyone else is 31 just because I'm making adjustments as I go. And then I'll do 35 at the end. So, sounds good. All right, I'll be back. Okay, you know what? After doing about 10 really nice rows, it started tucking and tucking and tucking and tucking. Not really dropping stitches, but just a lot of tucked, really, So all I did, I just took the yarn out, just like if you were finishing up and then you wanted to go pick them up, but I'm not going to pick them up. And I'm going to treat it as waste yarn, and maybe today I'm just going to make something cute from this. So it would be a cowl that is only, you know, 35 rows deep, and then this side too. And I just let it go like waste yarn, so I don't need to do anything other than cut this off. So today's project will be a little different than what we were wanting. I already tied them right as we went along, so they already have the knots that I would want, and all I'm going to do is turn it inside out like this. And we are still going to, excuse me, so I'm just going to turn it inside out, and we'll still learn something today. So today what we're going to do is go ahead and adhere these. Now it's a bummer is I start with white so I can see the red bumps real easily, so we're looking for these red bumps. But you can also just, we're catching these white ones over here. So red and white, the pink is going to act as waste yarn. I mean, if you're really good, you can come up here and find something, but again, a lot of this is kind of ruined, and a tuck stitch, it just looks funky, like right here. That does not look right, right? We could also make a headband from this if I want to make a red and white headband for Miranda, and we can still also learn that same technique. We're just not joining it as a cowl. We can take these sides and sew up one side against itself, this other side against itself, you know, pull it. I don't know if this is going to be big enough for her head. You know, 70, 80 rounds is good. And if we do a twist, you know, it may, well, actually we're not going to do a twist. You do this kind of thing, you turn it inside out. Let me think about what I want to do to finish this up, and we'll just go to my craft room, and we will put this together in some way, and then I'll start over with a scarf another day when I find a better pink yarn. I think this yarn is made by the devil. Okay, I'll be right back.
Hey guys, so yeah, I just brought this over to my craft room, left it here, picked up the kids, and actually this is going to be long enough to make a head wrap for Miranda. I just kind of, whenever you make a project, you want to give it a little stretch. You can generally do it before you start sewing and all that, so you stretch it out, and it's going to be okay. So I'm just going to pretend this is waste yarn, that pink that didn't quite work out, and then see, we started with the waste yarn. And there's a few ways to do this. I mean, since I did the waste yarn, you can't really do the cinching one like I showed you in the previous video and a previous video. What I'm going to do is you can make it a tube, and you can make this into like a cowl like I spoke about earlier, just kind of turning it inside out and then sewing the two ends together. You go one the other. It's basically doing that. It's like mattress stitch, I guess is what it's called. For this one, I'm just going to do this one where all you do is go up the side. So you want to find, this white is the waste yarn, this red is the one I want to use, and I also want to make sure that's on one of the sides. You don't really have to do that, because if you guys recall over here, I started and stopped wherever I felt like, so this one is actually going to just be in the middle, but that's okay, we'll just deal with that. You do need to carry that yarn though, or bring it through later. So what I'm going to do is stitch up the side that's generally where you would want this to be, and usually you have a little bit more of a tail. I wasn't planning on doing what I did, so just leave yourself, you know, this is probably fine. 6 inches a foot is probably good, but this is where, if this came out, it's going to start unraveling, right? So really, I mean, if you want to hook this into the one next to it, or right in the one below it and tie it off, lots of ways, but we're going to finish off with that guy. So what you want to do is put this guy together in a way that that guy's at the end, and you want it to be straight, and this is going to be the underside, I believe, of my work, because that's where you see the color change the most, so that doesn't matter right now. If you haven't tied off your ends where you tied the new one, or where you brought the new one in, go ahead and do that, you know, when it's inside out. Just turn it inside out and tie it, but we tied it as we went along, if you guys recall, so that's secure and it's already inside. And this guy, basically you want this loop, so it's not quite a loop yet, right, because you just started, but you can imagine if this went down into here. Actually, well, you know, most of the time people just leave it out here, but you could tack it down into this little loop underneath. Just pull it through with your crochet hook or your yarn needle. I'm going to grab the crochet hook from the kit, because we're going to be using that. We're going to do a bind off that's a different. What I'm trying to say is, if you go up here and grab this guy and bring it in, it just kind of holds it in there, or maybe you make a knot and then it'll tie onto this. But for now, let's just leave it the way most people just leave it. So I'm going to have this up here, and that could be up there, and you really just want like one stitch on the end, but it doesn't really matter. You're just looking for what you would consider the middle, and you won't want to, like if I do this, I'm just going to deal with this side first. you have kind of like a nice edge here. So let's just pretend like this guy's the middle. It does not really matter that much because you're going to go in, all right, to just the red loops and the ones that are the very first time you see them, not like back in here, the very first time you see them. And you're going to catch the red loop that's next to it and just pull it through. Should be pretty easy to do, but if it's tight, you know, just help yourself out. So the next one that was on the left side. So on the right side, I'm going to grab the next red loop that shows up, is this guy, and pull it through the loop that's on your hook. And now we did that side, so now we're going to go back to the left side. And this is so fun, you guys. And they say, oh, you may not want to do this because you don't crochet. It's not really even about crocheting. You're just using this as a tool to help you bring this in. So now the next one is this guy. Don't catch anything else, just the one loop. Bring it up, and then when we're done, we're going to unravel the waste yarn, so don't worry about that. Yeah, that pink yarn was, ugh. But, oh, let me back up. I'm going to make this into a head wrap. The reason you see these other crochet hooks is because I'm going to decorate my head wrap with this little heart motif. So I found this online, like literally the first thing that Google spit out, and it was a good pattern, so I'll link it in the description box. It goes to a blog post, and it's like 2 rounds. I mean, it's so easy. We'll talk about that, and I'm going to attach them on here. Now, if you want to do that, you can do it now. It's just I don't want to get confused later with like, oh, this is the back and that was the front, and then you turn it inside out when you do, you know, after you sew this together. So I'm just going to put them on afterwards, no big deal. But it's very cute, and then I already made one because I'm going to make another couple smaller ones out of this pink, but I didn't want to just use the pink from the skein because I have this waste yarn anyway, so I'll make my other hearts from here and then I'll show you how they were made. Okay, so we have this one, and now we're going to go back over to the left. Again, just getting that single loop there. Okay, and you can kind of move this as you go along. Again, first red loop that pops up, that's on that outer edge. That guy, and then this guy. Super easy. Again, it's not, I mean, it is crocheting, so I guess you're learning something, but it's not really crocheting. You're just using this to help you get in here. So pull that up. This hook is really kind of not super sturdy. It's okay, it's not gonna break, but it just feels weird. Okay, so as you go along, you can grab, again, just the red. Did I get just the white one? Yeah. Pull it through here, and then get the opposite one. And you're just gonna keep laddering up, only grabbing the little loops that are here. And not the others, right? I think that's pretty repetitive. You can see I'm going left, right. Just grabbing this guy here, and then this guy on this side. And I will get back to you when we get to the very end. And people, you know, always say, make sure you don't drop any. I mean, you can count. Like, I could have started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need to get to basically 48, right? Because we had 48 to begin with. You want 48 at the end. But maybe 47 with that last one. You have to kind of do something fun. But anyway, so I'm going to keep going, guys. You know, waste your time. It's very simple, right? And I'll be back when I get closer to this end. We're almost there, so I just came back to finish it up with you guys. It gets easier and easier, actually, as you get to the end. For whatever reason, it's a little bit looser. So this one, and again, I didn't count as I went along, but I mean, you can see clearly the red loops. Okay, this one here. And just, again, make sure you're getting all of them, because I know one came down here. This guy. And then this one. And then I could have done this earlier, I just didn't do it till now. You're going to untie these because obviously the white does not need to be tied to the red here. So I'm just going to untie that. And I'm just going to take this guy, right? Nothing else, I don't think. There's a loop involved there because that's just, I already got it. And just pull it through. Okay, pull it. So now we get to get rid of this waste yarn. Now, I think this one is where we began, right? So if I pull it, you see, it's just going to be like when you make a hat or anything else, it's going to start pulling in. It's just going to start doing that. We don't want that. You want to get rid of this round. So it's basically the very first yarn that we went around when we cast on. So it is cast on, and it's good that it's there. You know, if you were just making a project, you want that to hold your loops, but right now we want to get rid of this. So it's easier to get rid of it first. Some people just, you know, cut at the bottom somehow, go from there, but either way, this is just like if you're dropping stitches. We just need to get rid of that first one around. And then on the other one, you just have to pull, because the other one was not cast on and it wasn't cast off either. We didn't like get the loops, so when we cast it off, it just keeps going. So on the second one, or whichever side, you can just get rid of it. So let me see if that's enough. Yep, looks like that's enough because it's already pulling. Now we can just pull, 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 and the magic of this method will be revealed. Now that's to seal your ends. You can do this with a scarf. I was going to do this regardless if I did the scarf or this. And then when you pull it here, it's so interesting because it really wants to hold on. And there you go. So now you can ball this back up, and that can be waste yarn for another project. And there you go. And look at that. Look at that. So what we're going to do, if you can imagine, this one's going to be this way, and this one's going to get done, and this one's going to curve around this one, then you sew it together, and then that's it. So the other reason you want to have some a good amount left is because you do have to sew this together. I'm just going to bring in another yarn, possibly another strand, because I wasn't planning on doing this. So when I was going to do the scarf, I was just going to weave this away, and then that's it. I don't care. But now we do have to use the end, one of the ends, for stitching. So you do want to leave at least one end, you know, pretty long. So on this side, what you're going to do is just make sure that everything is straight, and then I'm going to curl this back because there is a lot of this waste yarn. Actually, if I wanted to, I could start pulling it off because I don't need all this sitting here. But, you know, you're just kind of looking, making sure everything's good. I'm going to start on this side because the end is over here. It's closer to being the end on this side, but we're just going to have to weave that in a different way because obviously I did my work a little bit differently on that side. Where is this thing? Okay. So again, I'm just going to pick up one of my little loops, and we're going for the white loops this time. Going to the second one. This is the only time you have like basically the way it looks. Oh, it's very soft, this one. Okay, got it. And I'm going to go up to that side. Same thing, and I'll work up until I get to that loop, that strand that's not where it should be, right? It should be at the end of my round. But that's okay. So just the white ones, and I think this is going to be a very cute project, and I'll probably splice in at the beginning of the video a little edit talking about what I planned but what we ended up doing. So if people were interested, they can stay tuned, and if they weren't interested, they can just not continue. Actually, well, my title will also have the reflection of this being the project with the thumbnail, so hopefully it's not a surprise. Okay, so I'm just going to go sit on my couch and go left and right until I get to that strand being where it's not supposed to be, okay? This yarn is very splitty now. It's really soft compared to that pink that's coming in. Oh my gosh, it's so rough. Okay, I'll be back. This is simply because, remember, the machine had stopped counting, and then I was just counting my own, and then I moved on with like forgetting to stop and end at the beginning or whatever. So we're here. I'm getting closer to that strand. I'm going to untie it because for right now I had it tied to, you know, the color change. So I'm just going to untie that. Let's get that going. Oh, that pink feels rough. Just did not work out. Obviously you don't want to pull the white out from where it is. You just want to get rid of that knot, that tie. Okay, and you know, I can just leave this one out here or wherever. Well, just kind of get it out of the way. To be honest, I probably would just pop it into the work because it's going to come out anyway when we undo this. So just get that one out of the way at this point. And then we have this guy here. So I'm just going to choose what I feel like doing, guys. You know, I just came from the one over here on the left. I need to catch the one on the right, which is this one. That's also where this strand is coming from, but I'm just going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and pull this guy through just to not lose him right now, okay? So for now, I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to deal with it later.
This is the one that I just pulled through the loop, and we're going to continue working with that. So I'm going to pull from this side and find the next one on this side, which is this guy. And that's how I just got rid of that for now, and we'll weave it in later, but we don't want to lose that end, right? We don't want it to unravel anything. So we'll go to this guy and keep going back and forth with my loops. Hopefully I'm in frame, sorry. I need to get a new glasses prescription. Right now, I just like to take them off and not use my progressive lenses to see up close, because it's just like, ugh. So, the joys of turning 45. All right, let's go. I guess we're here together, and you can see how quickly this can go if you're just focused. Of course, I'm chatting over here. And pull that in, pull that in. And we're down at the end over here. And I guess part of the shoe is once you get here, you need something to help you close this off, because you're just going to have a loop on your hook. So I'm going to, you know what I'll do? I'll bring in the yarn that I'm going to use. So we have two left, guys. I don't know if you can see. There's this guy that started shrinking back. So we'll get that guy going. And then this last one here. And you know, if that white strand was long enough, I would just kind of come up the side. And it looks like it is. So, I don't know. Oh, what if we just connect? There we go. How about that? Actually, this waist yarn is the same color, obviously. It's the same yarn. What I'm going to do is just hook it on here. And, this will be a good time to show you guys how to do, like, I think it's called a Russian join. I was talking about the other day, like the magic join. And then I'll still use that yarn to actually do the sewing. Yeah, you can just do any old knot or whatever, but this is a little bit more special. So you can put your two yarns, one kind of across from the other one, and let's say you're going to take this one. So you're going to go underneath the yarn that you want to add. You're going to go over it. You're going to go over itself right here, and you're going to tuck it in. And remember, I think it goes through itself. Yeah, so over itself, and then just into the loop here. Okay, so that's a special little way of doing that. And then the other end, hopefully you can see what I'm doing, you're going to go over the yarn that you want to end with. You're going to go through the loop over itself, just like we did on the other one. I know it's all the same color, so it's kind of hard to tell, but then you finish your knot. You can pull them both tighter before you get there, but after that you kind of just pull, and they will tug against each other, and that is it, you guys. That supposedly guaranteed to not come apart. Now you want to cut this pretty close. I could probably do closer than that even. And I could have just brought this to the end before I joined it, but then it would be a very small piece. So let's leave ourselves like a good amount of yarn. You don't really need that much. You're only going to sew across maybe like 3 inches. So, I mean, that might be 3 feet of yarn. I probably don't need that much. And I'm going to get I'll get the medium size needle, and you can do a join like that as you're working on the machine, just so that whenever it gets to the tensioner, when that portion starts going through the tensioner, just take it out of the tensioner, let it go in, and keep working, okay? Because you don't want it to get stuck in the tensioner, because it won't allow a whole knot to come through. Okay, I'm going to put this on the end of my needle, and I'm just going to get to the end over here. So I'm just going to stay in these loops. So like this loop, that loop, this loop, just the white loops. Don't get involved with the pink, because you want that pink gone. All I'm going to do right now is try to get this up so I can finish off that. So hopefully that shows you a little bit about, you know, figuring it out. Basically, there's a little knot. I'm like, there's a little knot. Yeah, it's the knot you just put in. Okay, there we go. Needed a little special. And I'm just under these loops, guys. The loops aren't important anymore. It's going to be there. You're just going to sew however you willy-nilly kind of can. So don't worry about the loops so much. I am going to come out like here, hopefully.
That's not where I want to come out. I want to come out underneath. There you go. And then I'm going to finish off that loop. So again, some of this stuff is troubleshooting, figuring it out, and hopefully having mistakes and other issues come up helps you guys see different things to help you out. You know, after a while, it's just experience and then kind of figuring that out. And I don't want that to be too tight, so I'm just going to pull it. And now we have this that I can pull up a nice loop from that last loop that we had right in our work, and I'm just going to bring this through because that's how we're going to tie off the yarn. And in an ideal setting, in a perfect world, that's like if I just pull this through, like, oh, let's pretend now that I'm going to do that, where you just pull it through. I already did it with the needle, so there, that's the end of that one, okay? And we're going to use this also to sew our project up. So now, what's really kind of about this one is when you go to unsew, or to pull this, because it should just start unraveling, you're looking for the end one. Look at all this. This is all that drop stitch area. I mean, it was getting really bad. You just pull, because we didn't cast off in the traditional way, so not too bad. Sometimes when you get to the very end, it might start trying to mess with this yarn end, but it's usually at the beginning. So I have a lot to pull out because we had a lot of yarn. Again, I could have already done some of this. I'm going to continue just pulling and unraveling, guys. You don't have to sit here with me for like, you know, a minute, whatever it is. See how this guy wants to get in here? What I should do is stab it down in there. Just keep it out of the way for a minute. And I'll be back. Bit here. And there we go. And all gone. And let's see our little work. Yeah, not too bad, not too shabby. Okay, there you go. And we do need this end, and I'm gonna make a heart with this, or a couple of hearts, and that's why I have two different size hooks. I did the first heart with the same weight yarn, but I used a really big hook that is a 6mm, and then I'm going to use a 4mm to make same weight yarn to two smaller hearts, so hopefully there'll just be some difference, right, between them. Okay, so this is the nice side of my work, I would say, and this is the side I don't want showing. So I'm going to put them like this, because what you're going to do is just fold them in half. And I mean, you can just eyeball this, sorry, or you can legitimately measure where half is, but you want half and half like this, and all we're going to do is stitch across this very top, right? This guy's on the inside. That should be okay. Actually, I want this on the outside, so this is the one I want to stitch with, so I'm just going to switch their positions. So this can be over here, and this can be over here. And the only reason I was mentioning what's underneath or whatever is because after you stitch this up, you're going to turn it inside out. And so I want this nice side to be showing, and this side where the colors transition is going to be on the inside of my project. So like I said, again, you can measure this or just kind of eyeball where we're at. And I think that's going to be okay. And my thread is on this side, so I'm just going to figure out my yarn where I want to go. You can just bring it up like this. You kind of want to catch this in there too. So if you're going to bring it up, I'll catch it when I come back down. Okay, so I'm trying to stay up in this area, like in the first kind of area, and actually since this is out here, I'm going to bring it back through there too. So back in there at the very, very top of my work. And since that, you know, for me, this being the beginning and where there's going to be a lot of stress, I'm going to do another catch. Okay, just go through that same spot again. Just give it a little extra, because if you just start moving on, I feel like there's going to be a lot of stress there where it gets turned inside out and pulled. You just want to have a nice, good catch on that. And then let me bring this white over. Okay, I'm going through the white one too. And I just cast over. I don't know if you see that. I'm just going over and back to the front. So that's how we're going to do this the whole time. And this is just one way to finish it. You want to finish it, you know, whatever method you like. So pull tight, and then again, catching this, catching the red, catching the white, and the last red.
Okay, if we can pull it tight, that'd be good. That'd be super tight, but just kind of get that same tension. It starts hiding on you. We can weave this guy away before this, you can weave it away afterward. So again, here, just catching the red, just catching the white, and I'm not catching every single one. It's like maybe, I don't know, you can probably do it tighter. I'm doing like every 1/4 inch. But whatever it is that you need to always catch the very top of every layer, okay? Oh, sorry, I got caught in some tape at the end of my table here, and here, and here. The idea will you're just going into each loop, like if you can imagine you had 48 but divided by 4, this should be like 12 across. Right, 12, 24, yeah, 48. I made a big gap right there, but that's all right. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep going across, and I'll be back when I get to the very end. Just a few more stitches. This guy started kind of hiding in there, so just make sure, I mean, you can use your finger. I just pulled it up with my needle, like, get this guy back up here, okay? Because we want to make sure we're catching everything, and that looks good. And then right here, and then, you know, with a color change like this one, because it's so stark, I mean, you can choose to sew up with the red, you can choose to sew up with the white, or whatever color, you know, makes you happy there. Just gonna make sure that corner gets really caught, going through this one, and at the end of this one. Right there, looks good. And here you can tie these guys together and then sew them in, whatever it is that you like to do. I am gonna do a double on this one. It starts getting kind of tight, guys. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna do it again, just like at the beginning, because I want to reinforce that. Okay, and here, so we're basically done here, so I can just cut that. I give myself like 3 feet and I still have quite a bit left, but that's okay. It's better to have more than not enough. We can tie these guys together, a nice knot. I suppose you could do the other kind of knot that we talked about, and then you can take this guy. Oh my goodness, let's get rid of this. And just kind of tuck that away. And then, you know, this is a tube, so if I go into the center, I'm pulling these through here, but then I'm going to pull them into my work and get rid of them that way. And I'll do them both at the same time, because why not? So end it however you like, but I'm going to pull it through here. So it goes back into the work a little bit and then comes out here. Now this is kind of why I waited to put my appliques, because it's like, okay, am I going to be on this side, am I going to be on that side? And I guess you could figure that out, but then they're in the way, and maybe this scrunches in a way that it's just easier to do it later. So I'm going to give that a pull, because obviously I didn't want to mess that too much. Give this a little pull and cut that off and let those ends go into my work. And let's see what we have. So now what you're going to do is just turn this guy inside out. You can see your stitches there, but we're not quite there yet. And that is what this looks like. Now, if this was for an adult, you want to do at least 90 rounds, so like 45 and 45, 100, 110, whatever you're looking for the size that you need. I mean, this is definitely for a little guy. What's funny about this one is it's so wide. Like, I really like the 40 pin for a head wrap. It looks really cute. Maybe you saw it on Miranda. It looks really adorable, but you know, it's whatever you like. So some people like this one because it goes over your ears too, right? Because it's so big. So anyway, this is definitely for a child, right? You put that on their little head and it's so cute. There you go. Okay, now my plan was to put these hearts on it and just be cute on the side. So we'll have this little heart, and then I made that, like I said, with the larger needle. I'm gonna use this one. I don't even have the pattern in front of me, guys, because the pattern was so easy and I'm pretty sure I remember it. So they wanted you to start with a magic circle, which I do them like this. I don't know. I put over my hand, put this over, and then I'll catch this guy this way. If you feel more comfortable with, you know, chaining and then joining it, do that. So we're going to chain 2. That's not going to count as a double crochet, you're just using it as a step up. And you can do 15 double crochet into your magic circle. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. As I'm talking about this one's roughly 70 rounds, right? Because we had 35 and 35. Okay, I'm just going to do 15 double crochet. I'm not going to bore you. Hopefully you know how to crochet a little bit. The other thing I was talking about was duplicate stitches, and you can definitely do that. All you do is get your yarn, let's say, and you just copy the stitch. So you'll kind of bring it out, and then if you see this one that goes around, just copy that. So I would have my yarn, let's say I brought it in here, and I'll go out wherever the stitches that I want to copy, go through these two, and then back down in. And all you did was just add red in, and it made it that little loop. And then you can make all kinds of designs that way. It's kind of like embroidering on something knitted. But I'm just going to crochet some hearts. So okay, I'm going to do 15 full on double crochet. The chain 2 doesn't count, and I'll be right back. So there we have 15, and I'm going to join or pull this a little bit. It does say just to join with a slip stitch on top of your double crochet. So we're ignoring our chain 2. This is the loop that goes to our first double crochet. So I'm going to put that in there. You can tighten this as much as you want. Obviously you can tighten it afterwards too. Okay, so now we're going to chain 2, and this doesn't count as a double crochet, so we're going to go ahead and do a double crochet in that same spot where we slip stitch into on top of the double crochet. And then if you look at your little guy, that's that part, we're going to put 4 triple crochets and then 2 double crochets and then some other things. So when I go in here, I'm going to wrap around twice, and the same stitch, the next stitch, I'm going to put in 4 triples. I've been doing a lot of triples recently, and I was like, huh, it's funny. I think I've gone throughout my life without maybe doing so much of the handful of them. So you just wrap around twice, you pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and finish it off. Wrap around twice, pull up your loop, and I think that was 4. Yep, okay. And then we're going to do 2 double crochet in the next double crochet, the next stitch. So that's 2, and then in the next 4 we're just going to do a half double crochet. So half double crochet in the next stitch, 1, half double crochet, there's 1 in the next one, 1 in the next one, and 1 in the next one. Okay, and that is, hopefully you're starting to see your heart form. And the next one we're going to do a double crochet, a triple, and then another double crochet in that same stitch. And we're essentially going to work up the other side the exact same way we did this side. Okay, so in each of the next 4 stitches, a half double crochet. So get ready for that. So there's 1 in that one, the second one in the next stitch, the third one in the next stitch, the fourth one in the next stitch. And I was planning on making really small, a lot smaller hearts. This one's just a little bit smaller, so I think I'm just going to do these 2 because they're pretty big. Okay, so we did those 2 double crochets, so 1, 2 in the next stitch, and then we only have 2 stitches left, the 2 double crochets that are left, and what we're going to do is a triple, well, 4 triples, right? So 1 in the next stitch, 2, 3, 4, and then I don't know why this was she instructed on this last one. I guess because it's probably thinner, a chain 2 kind of thing. To go ahead and do a double crochet in this next stitch, and then chain 2, and then you're going to just tack it down. Yeah, it seems weird because you would think you would just do a double crochet and be done, but I guess it just looks different as you're coming up here. So we have that, and it says to slip stitch into the same stitch. So what I did though is I did that, but I kind of brought it to the back And I'll tell you why, just because it looks neater. So that's not where I had it. Hold on, let's see. If I go in here into the same stitch, I did it so it was kind of back in the back. Oh, maybe it was just these two. Okay, maybe it was just those two posts. Just, there we go. It was just the two posts behind the top of the thing. And I'm gonna leave myself a good amount because I'm gonna use the same yarn to stitch this on. Okay, so it's something like that. And then in the center, obviously we can pull this tighter. And I don't know if I pulled this one super tight, but maybe not. I'm going to grab the smaller yarn needle. Actually, I'm going to grab one from my kit just to finish this off. And then we're going to go ahead and sew these guys on. So I'll be right back. So maybe it's easier to see. You're just going to take that and just do a few more loops around. I might have already done it with the other one. I feel like I did. Maybe I just haven't cut off. Maybe not. Anyway, just tighten it up as much as you like. And then continue the loop. I will try to tie it somewhere, so I just kind of went through a few more stitches from that beginning magic circle. And then I'll try to like actually tie it, because I always feel like the magic circle opens up after a while. Yeah, it's super magic, but then it just releases itself, which is really annoying. And then I'll go back in that opposite direction that I came. And that way it's at least tied off a little bit, and it shouldn't come loose. But, you know, but then again, that's also the way I do the magic circle. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but sometimes it opens up. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one, because I'm going to put the red one down first. I'm going to put the pink one on top of it, and that'll just be a little accent piece that'll be on this. Okay, I'll be right back. So we have this guy. That's not the end. I probably left myself too much. This is the front of our work, and you just worked it always in the front. That's kind of how it ended up. And I'm just gonna put it wherever I think I want to put it. So let me see. Also, well, since they're hearts, I don't think there's really a front or a back, but you can look at your work and say, okay, do I want it here, or do you want it facing wherever? I don't know. I'm just gonna put them on, because wherever they land is just fine. So I'm gonna put this on here. And that's what I was saying, you could have done this before we stitch everything together, but then how do you really know where you're at? So I'm here, I'm just going to go into the first layer. I'm not trying to tack this down all the way through, but you can. It's just, I feel like it'll have more give and be more, just work up nicer if you don't. So I might go up into these posts, like underneath, you see that? And that's already getting joined because it's already has a thing. And then go back through that post and then catch some of the headband and then go into the next maybe post up here. Hope you can see what I'm talking about. Or even under the double crochet, or under the triple crochet, whatever it is. You can even work on the very back side, but this is the same color, so you're not really seeing that I'm bringing this in here, you know? So catch a couple of knit stitches underneath. Just very shallow, so you're only catching the top of your knitting. But, you know, make sure you're catching it. And like every other stitch, you can make these longer. It doesn't have to be every single stitch that you're catching here. So as I go, I'm making sure that I'm catching a post or two, and then I'm catching some of the knitting back here, okay? That was probably too shallow on that one, so let's go right here, and then you can even look underneath, make sure you're getting at least a good stitch, right? And then back up wherever it is that you want to go back up through. Maybe here, maybe make this one a little bit longer because it's just straight anyway. Really tack down the little tip if you really want to draw it out. I would say I go down in there, tack it down really nicely. Okay, but we're not trying to change the shape of the hat, the headband, or the heart. So just kind of work with them in tandem. There we go. And maybe I'll pull up like these two loops here for this one. Go through here, it's kind of a big space. I did want them to be a little playful. I don't know if I'm doing that right now. Did I catch anything? I only caught one loop, so you don't really want to, you know, catch a couple loops. so it's sturdier. Okay, and we're pretty much back at the beginning. So down here, you can kind of look and see, I can tack it to the first one where I first got in here. You're gonna have to kind of manipulate that and see what your project looks like, what you feel comfortable with. I can pretty much catch that same spot. I'm gonna make a knot. You can knot it again or whatever. And then I'm just gonna kind of push it through here and let it come back out here somewhere because it doesn't really matter. You're just tucking it back there. And we'll cut that off. And that is a little heart adhered. Looking cute. Okay. And you know, it just depends. I oriented it this way because I thought it'd be fun, like on the side of your head, you know? But if you want to orient them up and down, whatever. And then this guy, I was gonna kind of put it on here kind of like playfully like this. So I'm still gonna do that. And same thing we just did. So I'm just gonna go through and tack it down wherever I feel like, tack it down through the heart, obviously into the, this thing, into the actual headband, head wrap. I'm gonna tack it there and then I'll start working. Okay, and I want it to be kind of crooked like that. All right, so again, just same thing, go in there. If I'm tacking it to the heart, I'm also gonna catch a little bit of the headband just to reinforce that a little better, and don't split your threads, but there you go. And then I'll keep going all around, just like we did. I'll be back. Okay guys, so just as before, I ended at the very top and I caught that there and did a knot and then cut it off. You know what I'm saying? I pushed it through here, cut it off, and I probably should have shown you that. It was the same thing. So still a Valentine-y project, not quite what I was going for today, but very cute nonetheless. And I told you I was going to follow up the next day. It's really early in the morning. Miranda's still asleep, so maybe I'll do a short later with her wearing it. But for now, I'll just have the images, and I'll have links in the description box. Oh, and yes, since I was making this video, and I guess more videos like that, YouTube keeps trying to offer me videos of knitting machines, and they're like, they showed the purple one, and I was like, huh, and it was from Centro themselves, and Centro does make the purple knitting machine with the name VCT whatever, which is crazy, and they have it there. So anyway, something to think about. So yeah, again, play with the yarns. This yarn was just not working out, and since it was the only pink one I had, I couldn't really tear it back and find another. I have another hot pink. I wasn't looking for hot pink. I wanted this kind of fruity kind of pink. But anyway, all right guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye now.